let's just sew whatever. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make the super simplified tailor tote. It turned out so good. I used the Wawak Profuse stiff, and I do have some wrinkles from turning, but I think they'll kind of relax away. But I used just the basic pattern pieces. We added some grab handles. There is a crossbody strap, but I don't have enough snap hooks. And the inside is just a magnetic snap. And this waterproof cotton from the Emporium, which creates a great quick lining because you don't need to interface it, and it's so soft. So yeah, we're gonna make this. I'm excited. I love the way it turned out. The vinyl is avocado green from my website and dark green handles. It's so good. Okay. I might paint this to look like Shrek. Anyway, enjoy the tutorial. So let's get started on making the super simple tailor tote. I'm really excited. I'm gonna start with the strap. I don't have snap hooks, so I won't be able to complete it, but we can at least get it together and get our slide adjuster on there. You could go ahead and skip this part if you're doing just a webbing handle. I'm doing a double-sided strap, which is making it less simple, but I think it'll kind of make up for how simple the bag is. So I've got a 2-inch piece of vinyl, and I'm folding the long raw edges to the center. So my strap is kind of twisting, and I think that has to do with me just pulling a little bit too hard as I was taping this down. But it also could be from the tension on my double-sided tape kind of causing that. All right. So my cotton fabric that I'm using on top is longer than I need it to be, but that's okay. So I'm gonna get this figured first. Oh my gosh, I love this fabric base so much. I haven't used it in a while. I forgot how much I loved it. And this is waterproof cotton, and this print is available from the Emporium. I love the background of this one. It's like this really pretty yellow, and there's little moths and diamonds in the background. It's so cute. Okay. I'm going to get another piece of double-sided tape, but just 1/4 inch this time, to tape these together. So it's a lot of tape, but it keeps everything from shifting. And that's what we want. peeling a little bit of the tape away at a time. And I'm just cutting that excess off. Could use that as a little connector. All right, stitch length set to 5. I'm gonna go around all 4 sides of the strap. And sadly, I don't have enough snap hooks at home, so I have to get some more to finish this. But we've got our strap prepped. We can add the snap hook. So I want the leaf print to be the inside, so I've got the wrong side face up. And I'm just gonna do a little back stitch box. I mean, technically it's both a back stitch and a box stitch. And then you'd add your snap hook and go over the center slide adjuster. And there you have your double-sided strap. And now we can move on to putting together our exterior. And the exterior is going to be more complicated than the lining, so we'll start there. The standard seam allowance on this bag is 1/2 inch, so remember that, because I didn't. I'm going to start by putting our front panels together first, so I need to prep my handles. I cut these to 2.5 by 16. I just wanted little grab handles. So I'm going to fold the long raw edges to the center, and they're gonna butt up against each other. Okay, and then we're gonna measure 3 inches in from either side and make a little mark on the inside edge, both sides. Okay, then we're gonna fold at that line, and we're gonna top stitch from mark to mark. So back stitch there, folding it over on itself, and this creates just this little faux rolled handle. And I'm leaving my nail where I want to stop stitching that. And I'm back stitching okay, there's one. Yeah, it's perfect. Perfect. Okay, this happens to double-sided tape when you don't tape it down all the way. .3 inches, and I like to make a mark on both sides, but you could just make the one. I just find it easier to kind of line them up. Okay, so we've got our upper panels. I'm going to set those aside, and we're going to mark, let's see, maybe 2 inches, 2.5 from either side of the center, and we're going to line our handle up on the outside edge of that. And if your handles are a different size than what I'm doing, you may find that a different measurement is more visually appealing, and you can always test it first. So I'm going to put that so that the seam is on the back side. Yes, that's perfect. So here's the mark, and then there's my handle. You could also center it with that if you wanted. But yeah, that's how I want it to look. Oh my God, this is a Shrek bag. This is Shrek green. I'm just making that realization. All right. So I'm gonna do a quick baste on these handles just so they don't move. All right. Top panel, and this is going to get attached with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. We're going to flip that up to create a seam on the bottom. And then we're going to stitch through those layers. And you'll see how fun that is. Repeat. 1/2 inch. Very large to be so simple, that bottom panel, but I kind of like it. All right. We're going to prep our strap connectors just by folding the long raw edges into the center. Top stitch each side. we'll thread our triangle ring with the wrong side face up so that you hide that seam. Okay, and then we're going to put our gusset together, marking the center of the top so we can center our triangle ring. So this is the top of that side gusset piece, which is narrower, the side panel. I'm going to baste this together at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So they don't come apart, but also so that we have a stitch line to visually see where that 1/2 inch is, so we can leave 1/2 inch within our seam allowance. Baste that down. So top edge is narrower, center that, lining up that 1/2 inch stitch line and basting in place. And then we're gonna, just like the exterior, we're gonna take our upper accent piece, and it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance. We're gonna sew that together, keeping your triangle ring out of the way. Repeat. And I'm not worrying about backstitching too much right now because I'm about to sew over this again. And you're going to flip that up. And now we can backstitch. So cute. All right, bottom panel attached to the bottom of that gusset. Guess the seam allowance. It's 1/2 inch. And then I like the bulk to be on the base. Okay. We're going to find the center and make a little snip. All right, right sides together along the bottom. And line up the top accents. And then we're going to work our way down into the bottom curve. And it's going to be just a little too short until you add a couple of snips, and then it'll fit just perfectly. So just add a couple little snips and then press it down into place like a frickin' glove. And then this is a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then to help reinforce the curve, we can sew across that one more time. So I'll just do the curve at like 1/8 of an inch. And it'll help reinforce the bottom. Ooh, yeah. I'm going to add my nameplate to this side really quick. And the lining comes together in a very similar way, almost identical, except we're not adding handles. Perfect. And this will come together the same way. And then we can trim the seam allowance after. And again, clip it flat if you can. Snips in the gusset. Half an inch. And then another row of stitching just along that curve and the bottom. that is our exterior completed. Shrek-exterior. Ugh, I just love it. All right, and there's no pockets in the lining, so easy peasy. We're gonna grab our upper lining pieces and put right sides together. And we're gonna add our magnet just like right over that seam. And this is a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'll just feed these through at the same time. We omitted the zipper panel. We've omitted zipper pockets. If you feel like you could do this no problem, then you could at least add like a slip pocket. And we're folding that seam down just like we did the exterior. And top stitching through the bulk. I'm sorry, I'm laughing in my head right now because I could try to use, because I was like, man, I don't have time to do anything to the exterior, but I could use my leather paints and try to paint Shrek. Oh my gosh, he's so funny. All right. And just remember, this gets pieced together the same. The wider portion is at the bottom, skinnier at the top. 1/2 inch. And we're gonna top stitch under. Bottom panel attached to the bottom of that gusset, or the side panel. We're creating a gusset. I'm top stitching through the bulk through the bottom panel. And repeating that on the other side. So that's our lining ready to be pieced together after we add our magnet. There's our washers. So we'll find the center again. And you could do that by measuring instead of folding if you want something a little more accurate. And I want this to go through the bulk. So we're gonna place it 1.75 down from the top edge. I'm making a circle. and then measuring out those parallel lines on the washer, and then cutting through the seam allowance, we'll add our magnet. And since we're going through the seam allowance, we don't need to necessarily add any extra stabilizer. Because it's already kind of reinforced there. So 1.75 down from the center, make your little mark. Mark the sides. And then I had a hard time seam ripping through all those layers, so I'm gonna go to the down. Yeah, there we go. Now we're through it. Okay, we need to remember to leave a birthing hole since we don't have a pocket to turn through. So we need to mark our center, the bottom. And we're gonna start at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and we're gonna increase to about a 5/8 so that our lining fits snug. And I'll go ahead and leave an opening on this side. I'm gonna make some marks about 1 inch past where my bottom is to start and stop. And then we'll stitch it through that hole. Okay. Start at 1/2. And you could decrease your stitch length a little bit. All right, we're getting towards the curve side. So I'm gonna start increasing, and I'm gonna make those snips. In my gusset so that it fits that curve. All right, and then I'm gonna back out of the lining so that I don't get any weird holes when I turn the bag. And this side I'll clip. We're gonna snip. Okay. All right, and then we're walking into the lining now. Add a 5/8 inch to start. Okay, and then go back to that 1/4 inch. Nope, it's a 4 I'm looking at, so my brain says 1/4, but it's 1/2 inch. So there's that side done. You could do a second curve if you wanted. I'm gonna start trimming only where I've sewn along the bottom. So we'll go up to where we've walked in the lining. And then we'll taper this there. All right, so this next side we can sew on all the way around. We only need to leave one opening. So marking the bottom center first, clipping it into place. Okay, and then I'm clipping up to, just like the exterior, up to the curve, making some snips. And then it'll fit just right. Okay, start at half, increase to 5/8. Okay, I'm getting past the curve, slowly going back to that 1/2 inch seam allowance. And you want to be firm at that 1/2 inch by the time you get back to the top edge. So we'll trim that down. And now it's time to turn our lining right side out and put it inside the exterior, which is still wrong side out. Such a nice structure. And it doesn't matter front or back because it's super simple. We're going to press the seams open. Make sure your triangle rings are facing down. Pressing open the seam. And I like to start with the side panels first. Triangle rings down, yep. And then we can clip the rest. Oh man. And this is, again, 1/2 inch. If you would rather do 3/8, you could. time to turn it and top stitch, and then we're done. So I'm starting by getting the bottom out. And then you can kind of pull away the lining from all of that and then push the rest of the bag out. Oof. Profuse wrinkles quite a bit. Well, it did right now. All right, so now we can close up the hole we left in the bottom just by pushing in the seam. And you'll notice nothing really came undone that shouldn't have because of the way we stitched it. Just clip along that opening, and you don't need to trim it down inside. And luckily our thread matches our lining nicely, so it's no problem. I'm going to put in this bright green, or this bright blue tag that says "so cute." Doesn't quite work, but it's the vibe that I'm going for. Okay. And now with the way this bag is structured, if you did not have the ability to top stitch, I don't think you'd really have to, but we're gonna roll it so that that lining fabric is down and inside the bag. You could even add some like cute rivets if you couldn't top stitch it. And then I like to press the lining in. And it'll fit just perfectly because of the seam allowance variance we did. Okay, so that is our super simplified tailor tote. I just have to top stitch and finish our strap. It's so cute. I really like it. You could have top stitched at like 3/8 first if you wanted a little more visual difference. And then if you want, you can also add a rivet through there for some intrigue. But we'll go ahead and start our top stitch along the back side. And this is 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 to 1/8 around the entire top edge. And keep your handles out of the way. Technically, you could top stitch through them, but I like the idea that they might hang down over time. So yeah, now I just need my snap hooks, but otherwise I'm done sewing this bag. It's just a nice little work size dump tote. And I love like kind of the shape that it has now because of the magnet pulling it in. You could kind of slouch it a little bit. Ooh, so cute. So I hope you enjoyed this quick little video. I think the strap with it is gonna look really cute, kind of bring it all together. I'd love to know if you make a simple tailor tote, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.